Wrestling fans, now you too can look as cool as Monte and the Pharaoh by wearing the official Monte and the Pharaoh sunglasses at night for $8.99 each. That's only $8.99 each. Now available at monteandthepharaoh.com. We know what you're thinking. Did they fire off 6 fascinating points of interest or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all the excitement of watching and listening to Long Island's #1 wrestling podcast, I've actually forgotten myself. But being this is the Monte and the Pharaoh from Indie Music Studios in Ronkonkoma, and the fact that they were talking to yet another champion wrestling star, one of the most powerful and talented performers from the wrestling franchise, and not to forget, well-informed and provocative interview questions asked and answered. It was such an interesting and entertaining hour, the questions nearly blew your head clean off. Now you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Do ya, punk?
What? Yeah. No, I'm behaving myself. No, I'm not playing in abandoned buildings. What? Again? Now, I suppose you had those people follow me again. Fine. Hey, this is Jimmy Pharaoh from Monte and the Pharaoh, and I want to thank all our subscribers. We have now passed 14,000 on our YouTube channel. But I want to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged member of Monte and the Pharaoh. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's 3 different levels to choose from. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. Just check it out and become a member of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh. Later.
Welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte the Pharaoh, seen only here out of Indie Music TV, out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island. If anyone's not surprised or is surprised, not with me tonight is Jimmy Pharaoh, the star of the show. Jimmy was a little bit under the weather at the beginning of this week, and he's at home resting. Have not spoken to him today, but I'm sure he's fine, and I'm sure he's disappointed he's missing out on the show today, but hopefully he will recover and be back for Saturday, where we're going to have Baby Doll and Ranger Ross in. That's Saturday, I think, at 11 o'clock till 1. So, best wishes to Jimmy. I'm sure he is taking his medicine, and he's under a nice warm blankie and taking care of himself. At the board, there's Matty Ice. Matty, how are you, bud?
I'm doing a bit tired, but I'm excited for what's to come.
What do you got coming up, man?
Well, Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And we got quite the few parties going on in my life.
Man, what it is to be young. By the way, we will not have a show, obviously, next Thursday. It is Thanksgiving. And the one thing we did miss out on last week is that we didn't wish all our veterans out there happy Veterans Day. So I want to thank all the veterans who defend this country. I want to thank all the fans who are joining us tonight. Got Chris Lee in the house. You got Luce in the house. Got Rick B in the house. How are you, buddy? Maria, how are you? Jimmy, feel better? Miss you. I'm sure he's fine. He's just, better to stay home and rest up and then be, Look, Rick B, get well soon, Jimmy. Man, you guys love Jimmy. He loves you guys, man. ESO, what's up, man? That's right. I am wearing the Monte and the Pharaoh shirt. And you can get that at esocreative.com. What is it? Limited edition numbered shirt. So get yours while you can. Okay, guys. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about a little news first. The police have reported that former NFL running back Zach Stacy at large after video shows him beating up his girlfriend. In Oakland, Florida, police department issued an arrest warrant Wednesday against former NFL running back Zach Stacy under charges of aggravated battery and criminal mischief for allegedly violently dispute against a mother and his child. Now, Zach Stacy, I don't really remember folks that well. If Jimmy was here, he'd probably know a little more than me. I know Zach used to play on our beloved Jets, and I think he pretty much sucked. So, again, another guy that can't keep control of himself and is, I just don't get it. If you're angry and you're unhappy, just walk away. It's just that easy. Guys, you're out there, you see that, everybody gets mad. Everybody gets upset. Women get upset at men. Men get mad at men. Women get mad at women. Physical altercations are not the way to go. It's just not. There's no reason to ever put your hands on another human being or an animal or anything like that. And trust me, no one had a hotter temper than me when I was in my 20s, man. I had quite the anger issues. And Loose Cannon says Zach Stacy was a bruiser running back on the juice. He was a big dude. But, Luce, I don't really remember him that well with the Jets. And obviously, if he was with the Jets, he probably sucked really bad. Just tuning in, Phil, get well, Jimmy. Jimmy, you'll be fine. It's not COVID. It's not anything like that. He is just under the weather, and we just thought it was better off that he stay home, rest, drink his OJ, and, but I'm sure he's very happy that all this love is going out to him. And I know he's probably dying inside that he's missing tonight's show. But again, he'll be back and better than ever for this Saturday, where we're going to have Baby Doll in the house, along with Ranger Ross. The Ranger Ross interview is something a lot of people aren't going to see, so that's a kind of a fresh, new type of interview. And obviously, Baby Doll is actually one of my favorites, so I'm kind of jacked up for that. So, guys, I want to get into this. I want you guys to weigh in because I've got a really big problem. So last week, on Friday, we had Wolfie D, who literally crushed the interview. He was incredible, and Wolfie D now is signed on to the Monte The Pharaoh channel, and he'll be doing a weekly show called Wednesdays with Wolfie D. And that starts this Wednesday, so that's going to be a whole lot of fun. But here's an interesting fact, guys. I was, the big event was the reason all these guys were in town, handing out autographs, people coming in, paying their hard-earned money. But who was in town was A.J. Mendez. Now, I want you guys to hear me out on this, because this is, to me, a really, really huge problem. So everybody knows who AJ Mendez is. She was AJ Lee in the WWE. She's the wife of Phil Brooks, CM Punk. Both have done very well for themselves in the industry. They are married. And AJ came out for a public appearance. And that's great. Great. That is unbelievable that she showed up at the big event. If I was at the big event, I'd probably want to get an AJ Lee autograph and picture. But when I went to look, and again, I wasn't going to the big event for COVID, but I just want to read a few things to you guys, and just bear with me here. Here's the format of the signing. And Maddie, you weigh in too, because this is pretty impressive. A 2-hour signing station from 10 to 12, and a 1-hour professionally posed photo op station includes on-site 8x10 print from 2:15 to 1:15. No biggie there. Okay? No selfies during the signing. If attempted, you will be thrown out of the event with no refunds from Glamour, Under the Stars, and Sorrentino Promotions, or the big event New York as a whole. No combos being sold. No individual autograph tickets being sold. No inscriptions. Go ahead, Matt.
What?
Hold on, there's more. No personalizations. Tickets are as follows. No substitutions or changes. 2 autographs. 2 autographs, not inscribed to you. Just AJ Lee autographs. $300. 4 autographs. $500. But that's only for the first 60 people. 4 autographs. I said that. VIP package limited to 10. The first 10 in line. 4 autographs and Divas belt. $999.
Jeez.
Professional photo op photos. No autograph included. Now, I don't know what a professional autograph is, by the way. Photograph. I don't know if they had a cameraman there. Did they use... they took your phone. Someone called themselves a professional.
Yeah. You take a DSLR, put in like a white backdrop and any cheap light, and you're good to go.
And that makes you a professional photographer. $150.
I bet that's what they're doing.
Includes 8x10 print on site and digital version. Now, what's a digital version? On your phone? Is that a digital version?
So they just send you like a JPEG that's signed?
Line starts at 8 a.m. No refunds, no exchanges. So, with all due respect, everybody out there. By the way, Fat Boston Wales bank account in the house. Let's keep these legends working. Maria Davis, $300? Heck no, won't pay anything. No amount. So,
Yeah, no way.
AJ Lee, if anyone remembers AJ Lee's story, she was a child who grew up in a very poor family, who discovered wrestling that changed her life. And I think you put the picture up, Maddie, of AJ getting an autograph from Lita. Now, Lita, obviously a WWE Hall of Famer. Now, do you imagine if the young AJ Lee had gone to the big event, going back in time, or bring her back to when she was 8, and she went to the big event, and she had to pay $999 for an autograph and a photo?
Yeah. She would probably feel pretty bad for her parents.
I would think that she probably wouldn't even have the opportunity to meet her. So
True.
People would turn and probably say, well, it's the promoter. The promoter's the one that's greedy, right?
Everyone's greedy here.
But my point is, AJ Lee, you should know what your promoters are doing, right? You should know what your promoters are doing.
And how a different promoter?
Joe Shipley, she's a joke. She is a joke, Joe. I got to tell you, everybody knows I can't stand Phil Brooks. I literally hate Phil Brooks. And now I officially hate AJ Lee, because to actually be that greedy of a human being and be part of something like that, Loose Cannon, thank you.
Yeah, meet your legend for like an arm.
$999. Think about this. She won't even inscribe it to, like, please sign it to Mike. Love you, Mike.
No personalization.
No personalization. Because I'm AJ Lee.
That's literally minimum effort.
And I know Sorrentino Promotions, right? And that guy's a dirtbag, too. And he knows I think he's a dirtbag. And, Rick B., the crazy part is some people will still pay. Rick, you're right. It is crazy, bro. But here's the issue with that. Some people, like, they only have so much in their life, and they idolize someone so like these athletes they mean the world to them, and they'll do anything to meet them. But to rape these people that are in love with you so much, give it a break. I mean, seriously, when I read that, I was like, how in a good conscience could you even be part of something? What's that?
Yeah, she's straight up taking advantage of her fan base.
Oh, my God. $999, 60 people. Think how much money they made off of those poor people who are saving their money. Yeah. And again, you could blame the people, right? AJ order isn't worth more than $60 on a framed photo. You're right, Luce. Again, I guess it's to what, it's supply and demand. I get it. But there has to be a point where you just can't be this way. A mess solution. Don't buy a ticket to this event. Who could afford one anyway? You're right, man. It's like that's 3 car payments or 2 car payments, for a photo with your hero. You know, it reminds me, if my father's watching, you know, growing up, I was a huge baseball fan, and we grew up on Long Island, and Dave Kingman, we used to, you know, the batting cage is out there, and Dave Kingman came to the batting cage. So, you know, you're a kid, you're excited, right? It's Dave Kingman, and if anybody didn't remember who Dave Kingman was, he was one of the great home run hitters, and he played for the New York Mets, and he was actually kind of a hero in New York for a long time because he hit these monster home runs. And so my father brings me, the line is, I don't know how deep. It's got literally, and this is not an exaggeration, it's got to be 400 people long, 500 people long. We sat out there, I don't know, 8 a.m., 2 p.m., Kingman finally shows up. He goes to the batting cage, takes a couple of swings, and he goes home. And I just remember, like, how crushed I was as a young man. And when I mean young, I think I maybe was 6 or 7. And it's a responsibility of an athlete or someone at that level to ensure the happiness of their fans. And when I mean the happiness of their fans is if you're going to be in the limelight and you're going to be part of something where people look up to you or want to be part of you, you know, or just want a piece of you in a good way, not a bad way, you have to have that responsibility to your fans. And AJ Lee should be held accountable to the money that was charged at the big event for her fans to see her. She should be embarrassed. But again, guys, think about it this way. Old Phil had to give away ice cream pops a couple of months ago, which we knew was Khan's money. But just say he spent it. So I guess AJ had to get that money back. So anyway, that's my rant on AJ Lee. I'm in shock. And she should be ashamed of herself. I'd like to thank the band that sings the theme song for the Monte The Pharaoh Show. Our own Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner, Bart Griggs, are part of the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. There you go. It's every time. Bartman! You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page. Please give them a like and subscribe. Go to Spotify, iTunes, and Reverb Nation, not iTunes, Apple Music, and download their music. Again, big shout out to Wisteria Hall. They're getting lots of love for this Tuesday, Tuesdays with Tony Atlas. The fans are really loving it. I got to tell you, I think I was just talking to Bart today because I really want Bart and Jimmy to perform in studio. The studio just put up a new green screen, and we really want to get that opportunity where I get to interview Jimmy along with Bart, and people get to know Wisteria Hall. So, with that, we'll be right back after this commercial break where we will be covering the 10 most important events in pro wrestling history according to Mike Monty, not according to Jimmy Farrow because Jimmy's at home resting, so he didn't have a chance to weigh in, so feel free to disagree with me, but again, tread lightly.
The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite 4-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah. And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack. And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, seen here only out of Indie Music TV in Long Island, New York. It's Mike Monte going solo as the Pharaoh is at home, convalescing from a little slight illness. Hopefully he'll be back for Saturday's show, where we have Baby Doll and Ranger Ross live and in studio. PJ, welcome. You're a little late, but you will not be punished. Thanks for joining. Loose Cannon says, Wisteria Hall should play your intro live in studio, then start the show. That would be hot. Absolutely. If you guys wanted to see the capabilities of the station, we had a band Aqua Cherry along with pro wrestler Andrew Anderson here. That was one of my favorite shows. It got to, put the variety into the show that we liked. And like I said, I want to bring Wisteria Hall in here. I think it would be really, really hot. A little wrestling news to discuss. Last night on AEW Dynamite, fresh off his victory over Darby Allin in Full Gear, MJF went out to the ring to cut an in-ring promo to say that nobody in the locker room is on his level and that he deserves to be the AEW champion. Punk comes out to a hot crowd. They stood face to face. Punk refuses to shake MJF's hand, so it looks like Punk and MJF are going to have something in the future. It is worth noticing that Tony Khan had Punk versus Wardlow penciled in as a future match a few weeks ago, so that might be coming up soon. And then again, if you watch AEW Dynamite earlier that night, Bryan Danielson walked out to kick off his feud with Hangman Adam Page with, I don't want to call it a heel turn, but he definitely was being a heel on Wednesday night. So here's my thoughts on the Phil Brooks MJF situation. I got to tell you, everybody knows I'm not a big AEW fan. I'm just not. But I will say this. Well done, gentlemen. MJF has won me over. CM Punk, who I've not been a fan of his AEW run, I got to be honest, I think he just doesn't look good. And again, I know there's CM Punk fans out there, but his actions and his acting last night were awesome. The no handshake and just the walk away and the facial expressions from MJF, I found very, very entertaining. I got to tell you, so when wrestling's on, certain things get my attention, some things don't get my attention. Obviously, we all know that we're really old school on this show. But when MJF gets on the screen, now Punk lost his shimmer with me, right? He's not shining anymore. But when MJF comes on the screen, I am totally engaged. And I was totally engaged last night when the two of them met up face to face. I think AEW certainly has something really good here. I like the way they use MJF. He doesn't wrestle often, so he's always something special to watch. And I think that's the way they actually should go with CM Punk, right? They've got to use them as special gimmick type of wrestling. What I mean gimmick is that they don't come on your television every week. It's got to be something special, in my opinion. I think that's the way it has to go, and I'm pretty sure that AEW is doing that the same way. Also, we've got Survivor Series coming up, and we've got Becky Lynch slamming Charlotte Flair for her latest comment. Becky Lynch wasn't too impressed with Charlotte Flair's latest comments about how she is viewed backstage in WWE. Weeks removed from their infamous championship exchange and the shouting match that reportedly occurred backstage afterwards, Flair spoke to BT Sports and combated that in recent reports that she is difficult to work with backstage. The Queen said, if I was a man, would it rub people the wrong way? No one looks at a man and goes, why does he want to be the world champion again when he's been on top all these years? Is it because I'm a woman and I have done it all and we have a smaller division? Charlotte is difficult because I stand up for what I believe in. That makes me difficult. If I was a man, I'd have big balls. And I know how good I am. Man or woman, I am the best. Hard comments from Miss Flair. And I got to tell you, she's 100% right. You know, we all understand that wrestling is a scripted sport, and it is certainly there for entertainment. But I think it's very important for these wrestlers to be on top. It's about money, it's about fame, and you want to be the best. I mean, wouldn't you want someone working for you wanting to be the best? That's the way I look at it. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, two top performers that want to be the best. So now we got Survivor Series coming up. This has intrigued me. I'm waiting for this. What is going to happen? I want to hear from you guys out there. We got a mess. I like Becky's safety glasses. What do we got here? What kind of comments? Nothing. Oh, Maria Davis, I heard Charlotte's hard to work with. Yep, that's what we just read. I just don't know. Do you think they go into business for themselves, or do you think this is a work, or do you think they'll be professional enough to just carry out the match? They've got to make sure that neither one of them win this match, right? Because this is the future main event of WrestleMania. The way I look at it, if I was booking these two, I would have them just go at it, instant disqualification, have them just beat the hell out of each other. First, have a wrestling match. Give the fans what they want. Look, 7 minutes of solid wrestling, 8 minutes of solid wrestling, and they just got to get out of control, right? And then it just becomes this whole giant rip apart. Maria Davis, exactly, by Charlotte. What do we got here? Charlotte wants all the attention. No one will miss Charlotte when she's gone. PJ wrote that. Now, PJ, why would you say that? Charlotte is a lightning rod. Obviously, she's the best women's wrestler in the world, and in my opinion, Dominic, you're right, Flair is the best. I almost think she might be one of the greatest wrestlers wrestling today. Man, woman, beast, I think she is top notch. And, it's got to be hard for her because I think she's so lights above so many of the wrestlers in her division that she's got to actually wrestle down. And wrestling in itself, I think, is a very difficult form of sport. And I think when you have to work down to your opponents like that, you're going to have some issues. So I get it. You're not a Charlotte Flair fan, but I don't think you'd really, if she went, you didn't care if she went somewhere else, so she'd show up at AEW, and then all the AEW marks would be screaming for Charlotte Flair, right? And I mean, yeah, thank you, Phil. If she went to AEW and she had to work with the female talent there, talk about working down, it would be terrible. You're looking at a serious WrestleMania event between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch in a 100,000 seat stadium in Texas. Chris is mentioning Tessa Blanchard. It would really be nice to see Tessa Blanchard come into the WWE. There's a lot of great things that could happen. A mess right. Charlotte's a villain. She's supposed to act this way. After all, look how she acted back in the 80s like Mr. Perfect, and how the building booed him when he entered the arena. Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Charlotte is the ultimate heel with ultimate mic work. But again, she's dangerous, meaning that she so lights above everyone else on the mic and in the ring. There is definitely a problem. PJ10 says, to me, there are two kinds of heat. The good kind where you want to see the heel get attacked, think Hogan NWA, and then there's fast forward heat where you just want to skip the match and the promo. So clearly, Evolution Pro Wrestling, excellent show, huge fan. Thanks for joining, brother. Look, if you're not a fan of someone, you're clearly going to go past them, right? So I would say the same thing for CM Punk. CM Punk comes on my screen, I don't really want to watch him. And I'm probably in. Well, no, you know what? I'm not in the minority. I kept thinking, Monty, you're just so too old. You're in the minority. I'm not. Because CM Punk has not moved the dial for AEW at all. Not on Wednesdays, not on Fridays. This pay-per-view that they just had, Full Gear. Does everybody know out there that this is the lowest viewed pay-per-view since AEW's been in existence? Now, do I think it's fair? I don't know what fair is. All I'm saying is that Phil Brooks cannot move your needle. Notwithstanding MJF and Phil Brooks' little exchange this Wednesday. That was pretty good. Loose Cannon, CM Punk on the mic is fun. His wrestling is okay. CM Punk's mic, look, he's a great, he can really work the mic. But the CM Punk when he was 20 and 30 is not the CM Punk we're looking at now. They need to make, I'm going to keep saying it, they got to make this CM Punk special. Tony Khan's trying to get the most out of his money with CM Punk. He puts him on commentary. He has him come out and do the every Wednesday speech to the crowd. So I guess they heard Monte The Pharaoh the last couple of weeks, so they said, "Oh, let's bring out Phil Brooks and not have him say anything." And you know what? It kind of worked. Dominic says, "I don't mind Punk, but he's not a big attraction." Yeah, that's right. He is a middle-of-the-road player. The one that's working out for them right now is Danielson. That's it. And I don't even know if he's working out, guys. I really don't know if he's working out. But again, I'm not here to rip apart AEW. All I'm saying is, with all due respect, if you don't like Charlotte Flair, that's fine. But you got to recognize the fact that she is one of the greats. And she's a Hall of Famer already. And so is Becky Lynch. And that's just the way it is right now. ESO says Punk looks like he's 120 pounds. Punk worries me. He looks like he's ill. I got to be honest with you. And, this is why, with all due respect, don't tattoo your body up, because when you start looking like him, you're looking pretty weak. PJ says MJF and Roman, the top two heels. That absolutely. And, funny you bring that up. I was thinking about that last night. So MJF was CM Punk, if you looked at them together, and I was almost thinking it's like CM Punk on some kind of box making him look like he's taller, because he actually was dwarfing MJF. And for CM Punk to dwarf someone, I was like, whoa, is MJF that small of a guy? And then I started thinking, well, if MJF went to the WWE, how would that look? If CM Punk is dwarfing him, what is a guy like Roman Reigns, again, I'm just using Roman, going to make MJF look like? Thanks for the bits, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you from everybody. Thank you for the $15,000 for me and the Pharaoh. Thank you for 15,000 fans. I want to thank you guys for all the support. 15,000 subscribers. We are humbled. We're babies in this. I was telling Wolfie the other day, because, again, Wolfie's starting a show Wednesdays with Wolfie D, and we were speaking the other day, or maybe even today, and we only started this 2 years ago, and to have the support that you guys are giving us and the sponsors that stand by us, and the friends we made. I don't know if anyone knows, I pretty much write back and forth with Chris Lee every day. Chris can attest to that. Phil, it's the Pepsi. You might be right. That Pepsi tattoo can make anybody dwarf. But my point is, if MJF goes to the WWE, it's not going to look good. They're just going to dwarf him. Yes, Maria, thank you again so much. You guys have been so supportive. Pharaoh and I talk about how much you guys mean to us every Thursday. So it's just really wonderful. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to get to the theme of the song, right? The theme of the show, the 10 most important events in pro wrestling history. I'm really interested to see if you guys agree with me on this. This is Monty's list. This is not the Pharaoh's list. Again, if anyone doesn't know, the Pharaoh's not feeling well tonight, but he's perfectly fine. It's not COVID. He's just under the weather, and it was better that he'd stay home tonight. But I'm interested to see if you guys think that this list is tight, and please feel free to tell me I'm an idiot. We'll be right back.
Tired of that same old breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Same old tasting scrambled eggs, burger, that dinner steak, ribs, or pork chops? Why not add a little bit of spice or just a touch of heat to make the difference? Change that scrambled egg with a little bit of Johnny Fabulous's John Cena Sr.'s $1 Million Jalapeno Hot Sauce. Great on burgers, steaks, chops, and those barbecued ribs.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, seen here every Thursday from 9 to 10 p.m., filmed out of Indie Music TV. PJ, thank you, Monty. You guys are a breath of fresh air for sure. Thank you, my friend. That means a lot to us for sure. So again, just to recap, we've got Survivor Series coming up, I believe this Saturday. And probably the match that everyone's talking about, like Phil had said, is going to be Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Everybody's talking about them. All right, so let's get to the list, guys. Again, I want to reiterate, this is the 10 most important things that have changed the history of pro wrestling, according to Mike Monty. Not Jimmy Farrow, not Matty Ice. This is Mike Monty, and I want you guys to weigh in and tell me what you think and what you would do. So at number 10, I have David Von Erich dies. The average fan may not believe this today, but there was a time when the name Von Erich was the top of the wrestling world alongside of those of Flair, Hogan, and Rhodes. Not only were the Von Erichs the first family of Texas wrestling, but brothers Kevin, David, Kerry were three of the biggest stars in the wrestling world. David died in 1984 amidst mysterious circumstances in Japan, with official cause of death being a heart attack brought on by a serious intestinal problem. However, others, notably Ric Flair and Mick Foley, claim he died of a drug overdose. Why did I make David Von Erich's death number 10? Here's the reason behind it. David Von Erich was tagged to be the next NWA champion. PJ, let's see the shirt. I will show you the shirt. Let's check it out. I'll bring it down real quick so you guys can see it. It's well worth it. It's individually numbered. If you can see it, Matty, can you see it, or should I sit up?
You can sit up.
You got the Macho Man glasses. You got the Monte The Pharaoh. The texture is wonderful. You definitely got to get one, brother. It's well worth it. And they're individually numbered. And if you send it to me and Jimmy, we'll sign it for you, too. That and 2 cents will get you something. So David Von Erich's my choice for number 10, because if David doesn't pass away, David becomes NWA champion, and the legend of Ric Flair dies. David Von Erich is the guy who carries the torch. So how we know wrestling today, Ric Flair being probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest champion of all time, it would have been David Von Erich, NWA champion. Ric Flair would have been an afterthought, and God only knows what would have happened after that. Loose Cannon, you got Style Report 1984. Pretty good point, but I'm going to, Bill Watts turns on Bruno. Look at that. Yes, the Von Erichs were the hottest in Texas, Maria. You're right. So that's number 10. Again, I want you guys to weigh in after the list is done. I'd like to hear you guys write in what you think was wrong with the list or what was right with the list. Number 9, WrestleMania 3. If there was any doubt how big wrestling could be, WrestleMania 3 was the answer. Without WrestleMania 3 showed the world pro wrestling was a serious entity in the sports genre. Andre Hogan, even though they had wrestled a million times before, that match to me is the greatest match in the history of pro wrestling. Doesn't matter that Andre couldn't really move. It doesn't matter that everybody thinks Hulk Hogan can't wrestle. That match had the most importance to it of any match in the history of pro wrestling. I find it hard, or I almost think it's embarrassing when the pro wrestling expert out there will go, well, the greatest match I saw was Ricky Steamboat against Ric Flair. Right? 3,000 fans saw Rick Steamboat against Ric Flair 3 times, right? 1,500 fans, 3,000 fans. You can't compare it. You know what, Luce? WrestleMania 3 is still the most badass. Think about it. I love WrestleMania 1, 2, and honestly, my favorite WrestleMania is WrestleMania 2, which everybody hated, but I loved Hogan in the cage against Bundy. But number 9, WrestleMania 3. All right, number 8. Todd Gordon hires Paul Heyman. Todd Gordon owned a small NWA-affiliated promotion based out of the rundown bingo parlor in less than reputable area in Philadelphia, where he hired a washed-up WCW manager to work his talent. Within a year, there was little doubt that the promotion was growing quickly. ECW became a haven for wrestling misfits as Sabu, Mick Foley, Shane Douglas, Raven, RVD, Eddie Guerrero, Terry Funk, and Steve Austin. The sex violence storylines that Heyman produced would be ahead of their time and a true forerunner that created WWE's Attitude Era. So Todd Gordon hiring Paul Heyman, and if everybody remembers, Paul Heyman was that clown that carried the phone in WCW that no one thought about, and when he brought it to ECW, history was made. Loose Cannon says WrestleMania 2 put the sauce down. Dude, I am telling you, man, Bundy Hogan was frigging awesome. I think that was the first time they brought out the blue steel cage, because I grew up with the fence, right? And they brought up the blue steel cage. You had the Bulldogs against the Dream Team. And I was at the Nassau Coliseum, which I got to tell you, people hated it, but the underrated Roddy Piper boxing match with Mr. T, I'm sorry. It was great. I am going to argue with that with you, Luce, because you're wrong. Marty Greenfield says 1961, Buddy Rogers beat Pat O'Connor in Chicago for the NWA belt. Dude, Marty, I get it, right? I was thinking about putting Bruno loses the title to Ivan Koloff, but again, people losing a belt wasn't changing the shape of history. That's not, the shape of wrestling. ESO, WrestleMania 2, he loves it too. And that's what I'm looking for. Again, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm going off the list of Monty. So if you disagree, that's great. I just would like to know what you guys think, and I think that's awesome that you're plugging it in. They built up for Bundy Hogan was great too. Dominic, you're so right, man. When he broke his ribs, I mean, I think I've told the story on the show numerous times. I was watching Saturday night's main event. My girlfriend at the time was at the bar, and she's waiting for me to come, and I had to watch Saturday night's main event. And when Morocco held down Hogan and Bundy squashed him and broke his ribs, I couldn't concentrate. I went to the bar. I'm like, I got to go. I just can't. I was so upset I couldn't have sex with her. That's how pissed off I was. I was like, no, it's not happening tonight. Hogan broke his ribs. And in the end, I've said it before, couldn't be more of a loser than that. Number 7, Scott Hall invades WCW. Quite simply, the greatest storyline in professional wrestling history. Throwing Ted Turner's money around on talent and other promotions was never a problem for Bischoff, but this time he finally got things right. We all know what Scott Hall going to WCW meant. Phil, MTV War to Settle Score. War to Settle Score is my all-time favorite match. Okay, I didn't say greatest match. Greatest match, Hogan-Andre. Favorite match, Hogan-Piper, War to Settle Score. I was there live. When I still watch it to this day, people, I got to tell you, if you haven't seen that match, it felt real. The hair on my arms is sticking up right now just thinking about it. There's a point where Piper, they're in the ring. Piper's like bouncing in the corner because he's ready to get to Hogan. And it's incredible. But I think you'll see, Phil, as we go down the list, I don't think I named War to Settle Score, but what led to War to Settle Score is what you'll see later on in the list. So number 7, Scott Hall invades WCW. I would have loved to have Jimmy here because I wonder what Jimmy would be thinking right now. Number 6, Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin change history. Tyson's presence boosted the WWE's pay-per-view gross to more than $8 million. This is the largest money spinning WWE show has ever witnessed. When Tyson came to the WWE, and he had the pull apart with Stone Cold Steve Austin, it gave us the first real inkling of Mr. McMahon, the heel. Okay, we know we got that from the screw job, right? But this was also part of it. And I will tell you, we all know that wrestling is scripted. But when Vince McMahon says, you ruined it, he throws the punch at Austin, misses him, which looked like a real miss to me. And he says, you ruined it. My God. This is why, guys, we love pro wrestling. That's exactly why we love it. PJ says, when I was like 3, I saw Hogan and Bundy in Texas. Hogan got thrown over the ropes into my lap. I started bawling. My dad claims Hogan said to me, don't worry, little dude, I got this. I love that story, man. Thank you. Marty, again, Rogers winning the NWA belt begins the WWF ascent. You are 100% correct. Hard to argue. Maria, the punch Steve Austin got. Yes, absolutely. Marty, hey, everyone. Welcome. God, I'm loving this show. Chris Lee says Cyndi Lauper. Well, it's interesting that you said that, Chris, because at number 5, Monty's got Cyndi Lauper appears on Piper's Pit segment on Championship Wrestling in 1984 to discuss her Girls Just Want to Have Fun video. What looked to be a simple promotional interview quickly unraveled at number 5. When Lou Albano comes out and Piper, and you guys, you got to remember the lead up to that. I think there was 3 other times they were announcing it. Don't hold me to exactly the 3 other times, but when that Cyndi Lauper was supposed to come out and she doesn't come out, and you just think they're just pulling our chain. And then she finally comes out, and that starts, oh my God. It started it all. It started the War to Settle Score, Phil, the greatest match of all, my favorite match. And then obviously WrestleMania 1, which turned the world. But we owe this. Chris Lee says, I love Hulkster. Got his tattoo on your arm. Yep, I saw it, brother. It's great. We owe today's professional wrestling to Cyndi Lauper. I loved her as a performer. I loved her, the fact that she was in wrestling. I think she just... What Lucy just said, good call, Monty, on Cyndi and Lou Albano connection. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. A mess. I saw one fight where a fellow punched himself in the mouth. It wasn't even in a fight, and the police showed up. That's pretty funny. I think I've seen a few other fights. Anyway, respect to Cyndi Lauper, because to me, she changed the game, and obviously Piper, Albano, and the rest of the players were involved in that. Dominic says, yep, the start of the rock and wrestling connection. Absolutely. Number 4. So I jostled this around a little bit, guys, but I really think it belongs in this area. Vern Gagne screws Hulk Hogan. For decades, Vern Gagne was one of the most powerful men in professional wrestling. Gagne was one of wrestling's first megastars along with Lou Thesz, a well-respected trainer and owner of the sport's biggest and best promotion, the AWA. In 1980s, a struggling performer named Hulk Hogan was looking for one chance to make his name in the industry and quickly found stardom in the AWA. As Hogan's fame grew, so did his bank account, and the only thing he lacked was a title, which Gagne was withholding because of his old-school mindset, where he believed he'd get a cut of Hogan's Japanese appearance fees and outside merchandising sales as a tribute for a shot at his AWA title, which is the ugliest belt. Who would even want that piece of shit? But anyway, quickly Hogan left the company and found his way to the WWE, and we know where it went from there. So if Vern Gagne had 1 ounce of intelligence, 1 ounce, the WWE probably doesn't get off the ground the way it did. Now, again, we all know how great Vince McMahon is and how smart Vince McMahon is. But again, you have to have the players. You have to have the team. This goes back to even our discussion about AEW. You know, Tony Khan's got all the money in the world, right? And he's probably got some of the best minds. The best minds. Jason, bullseye on Gagne. Thank you, sir. The best minds working for him in AEW. But he doesn't have the players. Hangman Page is not your answer, everybody. He's your answer for a bunch of 30-year-olds who are living in mommy's basement, man. He's not going to make you the money or the fame that you're looking for. And neither CM Punk. And you know what? When you have an icon like Hulk Hogan and you're Vern Gagne and you don't have enough brains to realize that this guy can be a game changer, you're an idiot. And by the way, we're going to have Greg Gagne on, Vern's son, Greg Gagne, on the show. And I probably won't call his father an idiot on the show, but maybe I will. But certainly, Vern Gagne screwed the AWA, screwed himself, and Vince McMahon prospered because of it. Number 3, the Montreal Screwjob. The story of the Screwjob itself has been discussed to death by wrestling fans far and wide between. However, its impact is of the greatest significance. The Montreal Screwjob was garnered of a notorious legacy both on screen and off, which was captured in the documentary Wrestling in Shadows about Bret the Hitman Hart. That, to me, is one of the great wrestling documentaries, by the way. I'm sure you all saw it. We all know the story of the Montreal Screwjob and what happened that night. And, again, you know, Bret screwed Bret, created the greatest wrestling heel in pro wrestling history. Chris Lee says, Tony Khan, please, Daddy, give me $3 billion. Exactly. The greatest wrestling heel and the greatest wrestling feud came because of the Montreal Screwjob. And it's really interesting. The main players of the Montreal Screwjob ended up being really not part of, with which many people consider, not for me, but it's up there, the Attitude Era, right? Bret Hart wasn't really part of the Attitude Era. He was pre-Attitude Era or right on the cusp there. Shawn Michaels, we all know about his drug problems and how he left the Federation shortly after the Screwjob and after Stone Cold wins the title from him, I think in WrestleMania. I think it's 13. Correct me, guys, if I'm wrong. And, you know, and wrestling is flying, right? Because now it's Stone Cold against Vince McMahon, one of the greatest feuds, the greatest feud in the history of wrestling, with the greatest good guy against the greatest bad guy. Marty Banks says, Vern tried to bribe the Iron Sheik to break Hogan's leg. That's right. And Sheiky Baby was smart enough not to do it because he knew that if he just did the right thing, Vince McMahon would take care of him. And I think Sheiky Baby did pretty well for himself. Dominic, he said that would have been great if they had scripted it, and some people think it was. Oh, about the screw job. So it's funny you say that. I kind of had that discussion with Pharaoh quite often. Inside my heart, I feel like Vince McMahon and Bret Hart scripted it. I don't think the other players scripted it. I feel like Bret and Vince, and I'll still stick to this, knew what they were doing, and they carried it through all the way to the end. But then again, at this point in time, knowing what I know about Bret Hart, I would think he would just come out with it. You know what I mean? You know, he doesn't seem like the guy that just could keep that secret for that long. But I do feel like maybe that could be the greatest work of all time, and they could have been putting us over all of us at that time. I'm not sure. Okay, number 2. Ted Turner buys WCW in 1988. Turner always had a soft spot for professional wrestling because when he first launched his superstation, WTBS, it was wrestling that was his biggest ratings hit. When the promotion was being ran into the ground by poor booking of Jim Crockett's wild spending habits, it was Turner who offered to buy the promotion, and folded into Turner Sports empire along with the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Hawks. Why did I put this at number 2? Because it created the Monday Night Wars. Ted Turner buying WCW gave a true opponent or foil for the WWF at that time. And everybody knows the story, right? That was the greatest time ever for professional wrestling. That was must-see TV. It was must-see pay-per-views. It was must-see whenever you saw a wrestler, whether it be WCW or WWE. You had to sit there and watch it. And even the wrestling fan, or the casual wrestling fan, was watching wrestling at that time. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. It's funny. I can't remember if Ranger Ross was leaving right at that time. I'll have to ask him when he's in studio. It would be pretty interesting to find out. We're almost out of time, guys, so we're going to go to my number 1, and let's see if you guys agree with this. Jerry Lawler versus Andy Kaufman. In 1982, a Memphis crowd witnessed one television's biggest stars stand across the ring from their hometown hero. What they saw wasn't much. No top rope Spanish flies or flaming tables. There was no long rest holds or arm bars. Instead, a cocky heel finally feeling the full wrath of Memphis pride. That cocky heel was Andy Kaufman, the shining star of Taxi, and Saturday Night Live. And along with his opponent, Jerry the King Lawler, they were crafted a simple story which had engaged the territory of the nation. The feud led the two men making an appearance on David Letterman, which garnered not only mainstream publicity, but another way for both performers to prolong their tales of Hollywood versus Memphis. The reason I put that at number 1 is because I felt that was the initial spark to what eventually happened for everybody else. That gave, Jason, another bullseye, thank you, sir. That gave Vince McMahon the ideas that he came up with, or him and his team came up with. We never do anything alone, right? We always have a team. We always have people sharing with us. Marty says, yes for number 1, great show. That was one of the greatest gimmicks of all time. And I could tell you something. I think I read this somewhere, or maybe I came up with it. I don't know. So forgive me if you read it. I can't remember whether I read it or not. But today's wrestling should go back and watch Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. There was a lot to learn between the movie star and one of the all-time greats, the King. I understand wrestling's different now. I know the athletes are better. I know it's a different game. But you still can be Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. You heard Wolfie D speak about how Lawler, laid on the canvas, would not move until an ambulance got him. That's a guy who walked around with his neck brace. It's just, that's when wrestling was fun, guys. And to me, it meant a lot. A couple of comments. I think the Benoit murders changed wrestling with the steroids and the drugs. The WWE was real soft after that. That's you know what? The Benoit murders is definitely a viable candidate for the top 10, 1 through 10. It is. I can't argue with it. I will tell you personally, I wouldn't put Benoit in anything. I'm sorry. I just, his name makes my skin crawl. Phil, great choice. Andy Kaufman and the King of Memphis followed through. The magazines felt like I was there. Absolutely. We couldn't see Memphis, man. We read in the magazines, and when they were on Letterman, it was incredible. All right, guys, we're almost out of time. I want to go over what we got coming up. We've got this Saturday from 11 to 1. We have NWA star Baby Doll in studio, which I'm really excited for. Baby Doll, to me, is one of the original women that made wrestling today. Chris Lee, the Owen Hart death, absolutely top 10 worthy. Like I said, I'm really interested. Maybe when Pharaoh comes back, he'll have a list for us. I'd love to hear what his top 10 is, and I'd love to hear if he thought my top 10 was good or the drizzling shits. I don't know. but he'll tell me for sure. Maria, great show. Thank you, sir. Yep, the Aftermag Skywalker, absolutely. So we have Baby Doll, but before her we have Ranger Ross. If anyone doesn't remember Ranger Ross was an actual Army Ranger, which I have the utmost respect for. He got into wrestling, and I believe WCW at the time wanted to have that Sergeant Slaughter, Iron Sheik type of feud, and I'm pretty sure that Ranger Ross had a lot of wins over the Iron Sheik. Marty Banks talking about Black Saturday. Black Saturday, Marty, was on my list. I took it off because it did, to me, it was a great time in wrestling. You know what I mean? Not a great time, but here I am dropping my quarters. Not a great time in wrestling. It was a change, but the change didn't last. You know, Crockett was back in the saddle a month later. You know, if you want to say that McMahon funded WrestleMania 1 because of the Black Saturday, absolutely. Did it change wrestling history? WrestleMania 1 certainly did. ESO says, can't wait for Ranger Ross and Baby Doll, me neither. All right, so I want to thank you all again. We are blessed. The support that you have given this show, the New York cable fans, the support they've given the show. I'll tell you a quick story. One of the fans called Jimmy, and sorry, my OCD, I got to pick up the quarter. Called Jimmy, is like, hey, I can't find you on cable. Like, he got Jimmy's number, and he keeps calling Jimmy, asking for the number, and Jimmy's like, I got to call this guy back. And the point is, I said to Jimmy, you know what that means? That someone cares about you that much and cares about your show that much that they call you to find out. All right, man, so we'll see you guys Saturday, 11 to 1. I hope you guys join us. It's going to be a fantastic show. Let's not forget that we have Macho Man Mondays. We've got Tuesdays with Tony Atlas, and starting this week, we've got Wednesdays with Wolfie D. Maddie, what did you think, me going solo without the star of the show, Jimmy Farrow?
Impressed?
Thank you.
Honestly, that was really awesome.
Well, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this full time. I miss my partner, and I hope he does well. And he's back, and back next to me on Saturday. I miss my banter with my buddy there, but I think I held my own, right?
Absolutely.
Roy, great show, Monty. Thank you, sir, again. I really do appreciate it. PJ, thanks again for an awesome show. Hope Farrow's feeling better, too. We will. Hopefully he'll be here Saturday. Jimmy's not here, so I can't turn to Jim and say, this is Mike Monty, and then he'd say it's Jimmy Farrow. So I'm going to say, this is Mike Monty.
This is Matty B. See you next time.